In a world where vulnerability is often met with judgment, many of us wear masks, pretending to be okay when we're anything but. Beneath the surface, there's a different story, one of internal struggle, of emotions we hide, of fears we bury deep. The pressure to appear strong, to meet expectations, or simply to avoid the discomfort of others' concern creates a facade that we maintain with precision. But what happens when the mask becomes so ingrained that we lose sight of who we truly are? The mask we wear explores the complex psychology behind pretending to be okay, unraveling the emotional turmoil we often try to conceal. It's a journey of self-deception, societal pressures, and the ultimate search for authenticity. But the real question is, how long can we keep pretending before the mask cracks? The answers may surprise you. The mask we wear often begins to form in our early years, shaped by a combination of external influences and internal fears. From a young age, children are taught to put on a brave face, whether it's from well-meaning parents who want them to appear strong or from societal messages that equate vulnerability with weakness. The pressure to conform to these expectations can be subtle but profound. In schools, we see it when kids are told to suck it up after a fall or when showing emotion is labeled as overreacting. Slowly, these lessons take root, and the idea that it's better to hide one's feelings begins to make sense. For many, the mask takes shape as a way to gain approval and avoid criticism. We learn early on that certain emotions, like sadness or fear, are not celebrated, while traits like toughness, resilience, and happiness are highly valued. As we grow older, the pressure to meet these ideals intensifies. Social media compounds this, presenting an image of perfection and success that many strive to emulate. In this environment, showing vulnerability becomes synonymous with failure, leading individuals to hide their struggles behind a polished exterior. The need for validation and the fear of being judged keep us trapped in this cycle of pretending. Additionally, personal experiences, such as trauma or rejection, can deepen the desire to wear a mask. When a person's authentic self is met with criticism, ridicule, or abandonment, they may learn to suppress their emotions as a defense mechanism. Over time, the mask becomes not just a shield but a habit, one so ingrained that it becomes second nature. This early conditioning, coupled with societal pressures, paves the way for the persona that hides the true self. The pursuit of perfection comes at a significant cost, especially when it's built on a foundation of pretending to be okay. While the mask may initially seem like a way to navigate the world and protect oneself from judgment, the constant pressure to maintain an image of flawlessness can be mentally and emotionally draining. We start by hiding our vulnerabilities to avoid appearing weak, but over time, this act of suppression begins to take a toll. One of the most immediate costs is the emotional fatigue that builds up from constantly pretending. It requires enormous energy to uphold an idealized version of ourselves that doesn't match our true feelings. The more we hide, the more disconnected we become from our authentic emotions, and this internal conflict can lead to anxiety, depression, and a sense of being overwhelmed. It's like wearing a mask so tightly that it restricts your ability to breathe, yet you continue to hold it in place for fear of what might happen if you let it slip. Beyond personal stress, the quest for perfection also isolates us from others. Genuine connections rely on openness, vulnerability, and mutual understanding. But when we keep our struggles hidden behind a perfect facade, we distance ourselves from the possibility of true intimacy. Relationships become surface level, and we might feel alone even in the presence of those who care about us. Ironically, the more we strive to maintain the illusion of having it all together, the more we lose the opportunity to experience meaningful connections, where imperfections are not just accepted but celebrated. Additionally, the fear of being discovered or exposed can fuel an ongoing cycle of stress. The mask we wear may start to feel suffocating, but we continue to wear it to avoid the discomfort of revealing our true selves. In the end, the cost of perfection is not just emotional exhaustion, it's a life lived in constant self-deception and isolation. Wearing a mask not only affects our inner emotional world, but also deeply impacts our relationships with others. When we pretend to be okay, we inadvertently create a barrier that keeps us from truly connecting with the people who care about us. The mask we wear becomes a shield that prevents intimacy, understanding, and the kind of vulnerability that forms the foundation of strong, authentic relationships. One of the most significant consequences of pretending is that it fosters emotional distance. Relationships thrive on shared experiences and mutual support, yet when we hide our true feelings, we prevent others from understanding our struggles. We may convince ourselves that we're protecting our loved ones by keeping our emotions in check, but in reality, we're making it difficult for them to offer the support we need. The act of pretending creates an invisible wall, and over time, it becomes harder to break through. Instead of open conversations, we begin to rely on surface-level exchanges that fail to nurture deep emotional bonds. For partners, friends, and family members, the mask can be confusing and alienating. When one person in a relationship is constantly pretending to be fine, the other might feel uncertain or even frustrated. They may sense that something is wrong but be unable to help or reach the person behind the facade. This can lead to feelings of helplessness, resentment, or even rejection. The person wearing the mask, on the other hand, might feel guilty or misunderstood as they struggle with the internal conflict of wanting to open up but fearing judgment or rejection. The long-term effect of this disconnection can be devastating. Relationships that are built on a foundation of pretense often lack the emotional intimacy that makes them fulfilling. Over time, the mask wears thin and cracks begin to appear, sometimes in the form of small arguments, passive-aggressive behavior, or emotional outbursts. In the worst-case scenario, the distance between two people grows so wide that the relationship starts to unravel entirely. Ultimately, the more we hide behind our masks, the less we allow ourselves to be seen and loved for who we truly are. True connection requires honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to let go of the persona we've carefully crafted. When we stop pretending, we can begin to form relationships that are genuine, supportive, and, most importantly, real. Eventually, the weight of pretending to be okay becomes too much to bear. The mask, which once seemed like a protective barrier, starts to crack, revealing the raw emotions and struggles that have been hidden beneath the surface. This moment of cracking often comes unexpectedly, in the midst of stress, overwhelming pressure, or an emotionally charged situation. It's as if the fragile construct we've spent so much time building can no longer withstand the pressure of holding up a perfect front. And when the mask begins to break, the fallout can be both a relief and a terrifying experience. For many, this cracking moment is marked by an emotional outburst, tears, anger, or a sudden wave of vulnerability that feels uncontrollable. It might be triggered by something seemingly small, like a misunderstanding, a long overdue confrontation, or a personal setback. However, underneath these triggers is a buildup of emotions that have been repressed for far too long. The dam holding back all the unspoken fears, frustrations, and sadness begins to crack, and the floodgates open. In these moments, it's not unusual to feel exposed and vulnerable, as if the carefully constructed mask was the only thing keeping us together. While this can be a deeply uncomfortable experience, it's also a critical turning point. For the first time, we allow ourselves to experience our emotions fully, without the filter of pretense. The overwhelming release of emotion can be cathartic, providing a much-needed sense of relief, but it also leaves us feeling vulnerable and uncertain. The fear of being judged or misunderstood can loom large, making the person behind the mask question whether this exposure will lead to rejection or acceptance. The cracking of the mask also reveals the person who has been hiding all along, the true self that we may have long neglected or forgotten. But even as the mask cracks, we are left with a choice: to rebuild it and continue pretending, or to begin the process of healing by embracing who we truly are. The moment of cracking, though painful, is often the beginning of an important shift, one that opens the door to deeper self-awareness and authenticity. Once the mask begins to crack, the path to authenticity often feels like a daunting journey. The cracks may expose feelings of shame, fear, or vulnerability, but they also reveal a profound opportunity for growth and self-acceptance. It's in these moments of raw exposure that the possibility of living more authentically emerges. The key to this transformation is not to repair the mask, but to step into the truth of who we are, flaws, imperfections, and all. The first step towards authenticity is embracing vulnerability. It takes courage to show the world who we truly are, especially after years of hiding behind a mask. But this vulnerability is the foundation of genuine connection and self-acceptance. When we allow ourselves to be seen as we are, without the pretense of perfection, we invite others to do the same. In doing so, we create space for real relationships built on trust and mutual understanding, where vulnerability is not a weakness but a strength. As we begin to shed the mask, it's important to practice self-compassion. For many, the fear of judgment or rejection runs deep, and it's easy to fall back into old habits of hiding emotions. However, learning to accept ourselves, even in our moments of weakness or imperfection, is essential. Authenticity doesn't mean being perfect. It means being true to our emotions, our experiences, and our needs. It's about letting go of the unrealistic expectation that we must always be okay and embracing the truth that it's okay to not have everything together all the time. The path to authenticity is also about redefining what it means to be strong. Real strength comes not from hiding our struggles but from facing them head-on with honesty and vulnerability. This requires letting go of societal pressures and being comfortable with the uncertainty that comes with being authentic. In the end, the journey to authenticity is a process, one that involves continual self-reflection, growth, and acceptance. It's about understanding that we are worthy of love and connection, not because of the masks we wear, but because of the real, imperfect people we are beneath them. True freedom comes from being able to exist without pretending, and embracing the beauty of living authentically is where real healing begins.